Are you modifying your motorcycle? Watch this first. If you love your motorcycle, don't touch another bolt until you finish this video.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
Because the mistakes I'm about to help you avoid are the ones you're very likely to make, and they're very costly. Now, how do I know that you're probably gonna make these mistakes? Well, after 20 years of repairing and shopping bikes and designing hundreds of aftermarket motorcycle parts, I have made so freaking many of the classic motorcycle fool's blunders myself. In addition to that, I've become aware that across thousands of YouTube comments, Instagram DMs, and questions I get asked daily on the Brutal forums, at least once a day, someone has a question after they've unknowingly made these mistakes, and it's just too damn late for me to help them. These are the mistakes that have bricked bikes, wrecked performance, ruined engines, and have actually made many of these mistakes myself. So I know firsthand what a pain in the royal ass they can be. If I had known this stuff when I first started modifying motorcycles, I seriously could have saved myself months of time and thousands of dollars. No freaking joke. Now, whether you're a weekend wrench monkey just dicking around a bit or building a complete dream chopper, one wrong step can really be a cat turd in the brownie mix. So stick around. What you don't know can destroy your bike. That reminds me, speaking of horrible mistakes, the only thing more embarrassing than pushing on a door that's plainly labeled pull in front of all your friends
Looks like you push.
is not hitting that like and subscribe button. Now, hitting the like button tells me you're actually enjoying the content I've taken a lot of time to create for you, and hitting the subscribe button makes damn sure that you do not miss a single video that I have made. It really helps the channel out a lot, and it's really important feedback for me. So let's get back into more of my embarrassing mistakes. First up is attempting complicated modifications with zero skills. Now, if you can't weld and don't want to put some serious scratch and time into learning, then definitely find someone who can. This is one thing that can really mess up your build. A bad weld giving out at the crucial moment can become a serious health risk. I have personally witnessed very badly welded handlebars snap off while riding down the road. Really not a good situation. Same goes for your frame. If it's not straight and welded poorly, it can lead to some potential issues. A, it could ride like a drunk pig on a frozen pond, or it could snap. Now, yes, you can mid-weld a frame. No, you should not ever use stick or flux core welding to weld a frame. That shit is only for ships, bridges, and farm fences. If you have a habit of turning screws till they snap, please calm the fuck down. In the words of Mariah Carey, sit down, bitch, be humble and breathe before you strip the fuck out of that triple tree. Right? You've heard that song. You can't just crank every fucking fastener down till it's stuck. Invest in a torque wrench and learn how to read it and use it. It's stupid basic. A Harbor Freight torque wrench is affordable, very reasonably accurate, and will work great. This is going to save you from a lot of pain and suffering. Machining. If your bike requires machine parts, you can get away with some drill, press, and grinder action, definitely. But when it comes to something like recutting valve seats or proper tube bending, there's plenty of shops that can do it, and they do it well. The same goes to those broken exhaust studs you snapped off in the head. A broken tap and die shop will make quick work of it, and you won't have to damage the head. Number 2 is not doing pre-build tests. It's literally like not tying your shoes before a race. There's a couple of these things. First is the battery test. You want to test the battery with a real voltmeter, and also watch the voltage when you start the bike. This is called testing under load. If the voltage drops to 12 volts or less, I would consider a new battery. If the battery is 3 years old or more, I get a new battery. If the battery is puffy, swollen a bit, the contact terminals are more crusty than a bad case of athlete's foot, get a new battery. Next is going to be your stator test. Now, testing your stator can prevent you from chasing gremlins during your wiring phase. Testing for resistance and voltage unplugged from the regulator rectifier will tell you if it's working properly or not, and it's actually going to keep your battery charged. So if you got a bad stator, no charge to the battery, you're dead on the side of the road. You don't want that thing to die in the Mojave and have to push the bike 5 miles to a dumpy motel. Yeah, I had to do that. A coil test. Another really painfully easy test to do. You're gonna test those coils for resistance. Very basic, takes 2 minutes, you're on to the next thing. Now, compression. Doing a compression test is an absolute must. If one cylinder has lower compression than the other, that is an indication that the rings are bad, a head gasket's bad, or there's a valve issue. None of which will be very fun to mess with on the road or after you've finished all the paint. Next is your fuel system. That is the tank, petcock, fuel filter, and carbs. And that's the order to check the fuel system. So, is the tank rusty? Does the petcock work? Does the tank vent properly? Is there a bunch of crap in the fuel filter? Honestly, no matter if it's my bike or the bike I've purchased, before I begin modifying anything, I will pull the carb, open it up, and rebuild anything that's even remotely suspect. Run it through an ultrasonic cleaner and be confident in that system. Next is getting the bike to run first. Here's one I am definitely guilty of myself. I built an entire bike bike stem to stern, paint, Cerakote, all kinds of cool shit, and then went to fire it up, and I'll be damned, that thing would not idle to save my freaking life. I had the carbs off 20 plus times. Nothing I did would allow the bike to idle without hanging up real high and then coming down and dying. So I did a compression test. Rear cylinder was low. I replaced the rings. Still won't fucking run. I eventually had to make a fixture to bolt the head onto to perform a leak down test because taking the head on and off and on and off and on and off. I basically had to completely recut the valves, and the problem was solved because it turns out those exhaust valves were leaking. The moral of the story here is before you start ripping shit apart, get that bike to run and take it for a 20-minute rip. Number 3, my dog ate my homework. Well, the next mistake is not doing research on the parts in the bike. Do you know what fucking bike you have? Do you know the history of the bike? Were there years that were absolute crap because the coolant was run through the handlebars? Now, regarding parts for your build, are they even available? Are they made of unobtainium? Is every part discontinued? What if you need new pistons? Can you find them? Do you have a service manual for the bike? Now, if not, I highly suggest you pick one up. Do your homework on this shit before you spend a dime. Number 4, and this is in my opinion one of the worst mistakes, wiring incorrectly. This is one part of a build that you cannot fuck up. A simple fuck up or misstep can result in your bike going the way of the freaking Hindenburg. You need to understand what type of wire to use. A very simple Google search will show you an ampacity chart. This tells you how much amperage each wire gauge is capable of. Now, when making connections, don't ever use those fucking red, yellow, and blue plastic piece of shit terminals. You want non-insulated ring and butt connectors, a good crimping tool, and some heat shrink. This will literally create bulletproof connections on your bike. Do not use solder on your bike, for the love of God. Solder creates weak points in the wire, and a bike's vibrations will cause cracks and invite corrosion, which invites resistance, which creates heat, which we have fire again. Not good. Good crimping and heat shrink are the win here. And for God's sake, don't ever use twist caps or electrical tape on a bike. Keep them away. That's for indoor shit. Now, number 5 is financial overreach. That's the pocketbook. Most people really don't spend the time to plan out their build and prepare financially. Yeah, I fucking know. Everyone wants to have a budget build, but if you're not mechanically inclined and don't have some fabrication skills, you will very likely have to drop a little coin. And parts that have been made by hand by someone else are not cheap either. So take your time, make a list of what you want to do, go through that list, and start pricing things out. You don't want to get halfway through and be stuck with a totally sick painted frame and tins and, all kinds of body work, but now you can't afford to rebuild the engine. Shit. All the little bolts, the seals, hoses, pins, Loctite, add the fuck up. So do a little work now and prepare yourself for success. Which brings me to number 6. No plan, no win. If you don't have a plan for what you want this bike to look like, it will be very difficult to complete. If this is your first time doing this, really helps you out a lot to have a clear vision of what you want the bike to look like. And please believe me when I say, if you like bullets, don't put bullets on every fucking surface. It will look like shit. There's a reason so many of those OCC bikes are a total joke because they're overly themed. Don't make a bullet themed bike, please. The next mistake I see, and yes, I have committed this sin myself, not understanding that each thing has to be done in order. A great example here. You need the tires you're going to use on the wheels of your bike or your fender setup will not be correct. Now let's say you go through all the trouble to mount a fender and a badass sissy bar on this bald as fuck tire that was on the bike when you got it. I guarantee when you get that fresh tire on the bike, your fender setup is going to suck. It's going to be way too close to the tire. Also, don't do the wiring and E-tank before you've done your hardtail and fabrication. Don't paint before you've assembled the bike to make sure everything works. A good build is going to be built all the way to running and riding, and then it's torn apart, painted, chromed, and put together for final assembly. It does take time, but it is so worth it to do things in the right order. Number 8 is building without maintenance in mind. You want to make sure that when you're fabricating and building cool shit, you can access the battery or fuse box without too much fuss. If you have to pull the gas tank or disassemble the headlight to get at the basic systems of the bike,
you're gonna have a bad time.
Also, don't put things like the regulator, rectifier, and coils inside of an electronics tank. These are components that need fresh air, they get really fucking hot, and they should not be mounted inside of a tank or box. If you're gonna make a frame and you have valve inspection covers, maybe build that frame so it's not blocking those covers for basic ass valve adjustment. Yep, I've done that. Which means I actually had to remove the engine, cut the frame, and start all the fuck over. Big sad. Number 9 is trying to do too many bikes at once. Parts get lost, things get misplaced, your little monkey mind won't be able to handle diagnosing things as well. I've had 4 bikes going at the same time and it's always, where's the screwdriver? Where did I put the 6-inch extension quarter drive? You end up misplacing things and nothing really gets done in a timely manner. So keep one bike your main focus. I personally like to make a habit of resetting. This is where I take a few hours to clean the lift, put all my tools on the cart, clean each one, put them away. I organize all my parts for the bike on a table. I sweep, dust, vacuum. I prefer to do this on like a Friday. That way when I come in Saturday or Monday to get back to it, because Sundays are for the boys, I know where every part is and where every tool is. Just trust me, you'll get to a point where the bench or lift or floor is a fucking yard sale of greasy tools, bike parts, beer cans, metal dust, chopped off metal shit, and pork rind bags. Now, if you have 3 bikes going on, you're just asking for mistakes to happen. I know there's some really experienced guys out there who can totally manage this, no problem. But if you're just getting your toes wet here with the whole modification building thing, it's best to start with one project at a time. Number 10 is something I really want to drive home for you. I get this question constantly. Inevitably, someone says, I was given this VT500, this VT700. I'm gonna chop it. This actually goes back to mistake number 3, not doing your homework on the bike and the parts. Since I'm using the 500 and 700 for an example, both of these bikes were made for a pretty short period of time in the late 80s. Essential replacement parts, rubber components are incredibly hard to find, if you can find them. I mean, we're literally talking unicorn status here. There was no aftermarket support for these bikes. I think the brand Kirker may have made some exhaust for them at one point, but that was definitely discontinued in the 90s. Now, the point being, if you have one of these and they run just fine, ride them. I personally had a VT700, one of those tariff buster bikes. I spent a friggin' year to find essential components just to rebuild it. Intake boots, various hoses, bushings, none of which were available on the open market. I did find some used parts, but they were in just as bad condition as the bike I had. That VT700 I had, it was given to me, and with good reason. I ended up having to give it away for free. My point being, make sure that there's good support for whatever platform you choose. Find out if there's online communities, forums, things like that, where you can go to actually ask questions should you get stuck. Now that actually reminds me, if you haven't joined yet, go to tjbrutalcustoms.com, click the forum link, and join the conversation. As of the recording of this video, there's over 400 members and a boatload of information that will help you through your build. I can promise you, it's way more fun to build a bike if you choose a bike that has a following. I know you want to chop the 500 or 700, but whatever. But when it comes time to find things that fit, you'll get super frustrated and you're looking at a very, very steep learning curve. As I share these things with you, I want to make sure you guys understand that I made these mistakes. I actually made this video because not only did I make these mistakes, but I'm actually watching a lot of other people making the same mistakes today. I do think it's really exciting that more and more people are getting into motorcycles though, and they're finding the joy, the absolute awesome process of modifying and making a bike your own. I'm just sharing with you guys the 10 most important things in my opinion that I wish someone had shared with me when I began all this. Now there's many different ways of learning things. Obviously, experiential learning is the one that's gonna stick the best. If you use that wrinkly pink meat computer, then you'll hear the words I'm saying and take it to heart. I'm just a dude who enjoys building choppers, and I've got 2 decades of wisdom under my belt. And if you're watching this, that tells me something about modifying or building your bike is calling to you. And I want to make sure you have the best fucking time possible. So let me know what you think. Is there anything I missed here in this video, this list? Are there any serious mistakes that you've made that you wish you knew before you started? Let me know in the comments.